Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are San Diego.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody could tell me differently. It's a good play. If the catcher's in the way, you don't try to avoid him in an effort to score and hurt yourself. You hit him, just like Riz did.
It's a cheap shot. Like, I'm not saying he's a dirty player at all. Nobody's saying that. But he clearly deviated from his path to hit our catcher, took our catcher out. The rule exists to protect him. You know, it's a disheartening play to see come about like that.
I've talked to a lot of umpires about this rule, and you know, by my understanding is they have the ball. It's game on.
If you give them the plate, they're supposed to slide. So, I mean, that's really all I'm worried about right now.
Mixed emotions on both sides from last night's events. Don Orsillo and Mark Grant with you from Wrigley Field in Chicago. It's game 2 of the series. We welcome you inside the broadcast booth, and it's still a buzz here from what took place last night. Was it right? Was it wrong? And no penalties were handed down today by Major League Baseball, but by our looks and by our accounts, it was very wrong.
There's always two sides of the story. We sure got a good one from last night. A rule is a rule. Do I like the rule? No, you don't have to like it, but it's in the books. Rule 7.13, we'll get that in a little bit. Look at Lawson Hedges. He's out in front of home plate. That's the path Anthony Rizzo should take. He's got the foul side of home plate. But what does he do? Follow the red arrow. He doesn't slide. First of all, a couple things here. Is Anthony Rizzo a dirty player? No. Is it a bad slide? You bet. Does he have to learn how to slide? Yes. You don't cannonball into a catcher to where you hurt him and knock him out of the game. Here is 7.131. A runner attempting to score may not deviate from his direct pathway to the plate in order to initiate contact with the catcher or other player covering home plate, or otherwise initiate an unavoidable collision, an avoidable collision, that is. You know what, I'm amazed that Joe Madden doesn't see this the way like everybody else does, like Major League Baseball does. He was clearly out in front of home plate, so some things have got to change. Will things happen? Who knows? Stay tuned. That's what makes this game of baseball a great one.
It is the Padres and the Chicago Cubs in game 2. Things have heated up on the north side, no doubt about it. 2 games left in the series. What'll happen? We'll find out next. Game 2 after this on Fox Sports San Diego. San Diego presents Padres Baseball, brought to you by Jerome's Furniture, where Jerry's price is the lowest price every day. By Petco, where the pets go. By Honda, great deals are waiting for you now at your local Honda dealer. And by Sycuan Casino, sign up for the Padres Club Card today. We welcome you to Wrigley Field and ready to go here. Perella back to the wall, and it is gone. A home run deep left field, and that ball is gone into the first row. And look it up, it's gone. Into the bleachers in right field to tie it up. It's going to be close, and he will be out after Hedges holds on to the baseball.
That just made things a little bit more interesting.
Game 2 is now as we welcome you inside Wrigley Field in Chicago. Time now for the weather report, brought to you by your always sunny San Diego Honda dealers. 67 degrees, east wind at 7 miles per hour, partly cloudy. The forecast right now, not a lot of clouds above here, Wrigley Field. Lots of blue sky and comfortable conditions. Don Orsillo, Mark Grant, and Bob Scanlon with you for the middle game of this 3-game series. It'll be a jam-packed Wrigley Field again tonight. Andy Green and the Padres certainly unhappy with the lack of suspension and or fine handed out today by Major League Baseball. They were fully anticipating something in regards to last night. Turns out nothing is done.
I was surprised as well, along with a lot of other people, not only with the Padres, in baseball in general.
Jose Perella leading it off. Led it off in a big way here last night with a home run. 3 home runs on the year for him in 12 games after being called up from El Paso. Padres in their road grays, and this one grounded right at Javier Baez. That's the first out of the ball game. It's time now for Sycuan's Pick the Stick. Fans, you can decide who you're with by tweeting #I'm with the last name of the broadcaster you think has the best pick. If you're right, you could win a free foursome of golf at Sycuan Golf Resorts. Things are certainly tightening up in this regard, and only 1 point between me and Mark Sweeney right now. Going with Will Myers tonight.
I think it's a 5-horse race. There's still plenty of time left. Stay tuned.
Franchi Cordero grounds one foul outside first. Oh yeah, there's plenty of time left. We're not even at the halfway mark yet. And Franchi Cordero in center field. Last night it was the former Cub Matt Caesar out in center. Cordero tonight, and it's a 290, 3 homers and 9 runs batted in. Mike Montgomery on the mound tonight, his 3rd start of the year, 21st appearance. So the bulk of his work has been out of the bullpen for Joe Madden. That's a strike in there to Cordero.
Yeah, some injuries in that rotation. That's been the big bugaboo for the Chicago Cub team, is the rotation.
The Cubs coming in 35 and 34, just a game over 500. That's strike 3 to Franchi Cordero. Let's check out the San Diego Padres starting 9 for Andy Green tonight. Brought to you by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. Jose Perella in left, Franchi Cordero in center, Will Myers at first base. Got Hervis Solarte at second, with Hunter Renfroe in right. For Spangenberg at third, Alan Cordoba at shortstop, Luis Torrens doing the catching, and Jolie Chacin on the mound, bats out of the 9 spot. Here is Will Myers with 2 down in the first inning. And he'll take strike 1.
Well, Mike Montgomery on the hill. We talked about the injuries for these Cubs, and getting his 3rd start. This kid had the ball in his hand when the Cubs won the World Series. Fastball, cut fastball, and once again the opportunity in the rotation. He's got the good ERA, the record, no wins yet.
Sounds like controlling the fastball has been an issue for him.
The command of the fastball is a big key.
There's a roll one down the third baseline. Here comes Bryant charging in. The throw on the run, and just in time to get Myers. 9-pitch inning. Cubs are coming up.
I clearly gave him the plate. He went out of his way and got me pretty good. It was just too bad. I thought I gave him enough plate to go ahead and slide.
I was hopeful Major League Baseball would look at it and say, yeah, there's a reason to have some sort of repercussion if they feel somebody does something that's jeopardizes the health of another baseball player.
According to the rules, a violation, but as far as that, there's not going to be any discipline because, you know, the way I explained it to him and the way I was going, it was zero intent to be, you know, malicious towards Austin Hedges.
Well, that was last night, and today a lot of conversation about it continued as both players talking about it, and Austin Hedges on the bench to begin tonight. Here's Anthony Rizzo to begin tonight and lead it off here for the Cubs, facing Jhoulys Chacín to start this game. And that'll be ball one.
Well, a couple of things here. Somebody doesn't know the rules. Somebody's getting bad information from the umpires, because it was clear it was a broken violation last night.
Rizzo drives this one out to deep center field. Cordero going back towards the track and the wall, and it's gone. Leadoff home run for Anthony Rizzo in the bottom of the first inning. Cubs jump on top 1-0. Kind of wondered how this would start. Not sure this scenario was in the plans.
He's on the plate. He likes to hunt the fastball. That's a two-seamer. He wanted it down and away. And Anthony Rizzo tees off on this one. This is just above the knees, maybe a little bit below the knee. And there are home runs, and then there are no doubters. That's a no doubter.
Chris Bryant about to stand in here for the Cubs. He backs out. Fast start tonight for Chicago. Last night it was the Padres who jumped on top 1-0, and tonight it's the Cubs with their own leadoff home run. Well, Bryant at .259 to start the night. 15 homers, 28 runs batted in. And the Cubs third baseman. We're mixing and matching as far as the lineup goes for Joe Maddon. Fifth different starting lineup they've had in the last 22 games in left field. And Bryant played left field last year for Joe Maddon. Tonight it is Wilson Contreras, a different starting left fielder in the last 22 games. Big change here at second base. Chase Darno has taken over at second base, and Solarte is out of this game. Jan Hervis was scheduled to bat in the top of the first inning, but it was a 1-2-3 inning, and he does not take his position at second base. So Chase Darno taking over at second. We get an update on Solarte. We will pass it along.
You know, Don, I'll have to be honest with you. I didn't even take a look on deck last half inning.
I didn't either. I didn't know if he was out there or not. So he might have been a lineup change before the game that we're not privy to. 2-2 to Bryant. Framed there by Torrens, but it's a full count now.
You know, last night we kind of had a floating strike zone. Some pitches were balls that were strikes and vice versa, and who knows what's going to be tonight with John Tumpane behind the plate. Looked like a pretty good pitcher's pitch there.
Swing and a miss, and Bryant down on strikes as Chacín bounces back after the home run to strike out Chris Bryant.
Good slider late in the count as well. And you know what is key here? He threw that for a strike. Out of the hand, that's a strike. Late movement takes it out of the zone, and Chris Bryant has to protect the two strikes. I think that's one step in the right direction. I mean, the splits for home road for Jhoulys Chacín are just mind-boggling.
One down brings up Wilson Contreras. 254, 6 home runs, 32 runs batted in, his 62nd game of the year, and again he is in left field. And a chop one to third. Spangenberg step or two, and good throw to first, and plenty of time to get Contreras 2 down in the inning. Bring up Ian Happ now with 2 outs in the first. Well, made a lot of the home road splits for Jhoulys Chacín, but they're certainly still worth talking about. His home numbers have been terrific. The road numbers have not been the same.
You know, it's a conundrum. Last year, 2016, his home ERA was 3.52. Road, 5.8. Okay, a couple runs there. Now, though, 1.72 at home, 10.27 on the road.
Dramatic difference as Happ will take ball one. Last couple starts for Chacin have come at Petco Park as well. This is his first road start in June after not starting since May the 28th. The last 3 starts have been at home, and there are 2 wins and a loss, and in all of them he went 6 or more innings. And there is the breakdown for him. Home, road. Dramatic difference for the veteran right-hander. Picks up that outside corner.
Well, he proved that he can pitch well on the road. Back, remember, on the south side, 6 1/3, gave up 3 earned runs. So it's there. Whether he's thinking about it, who knows? It's all about executing pitches, and Andy Green would say the same thing. Darren Balsley, the same thing. When you raise that question, execution of pitches.
Strike 3 call as Chacin battles back. A home run, though, for Anthony Rizzo has the Cubs on top 1-0. First inning has the Cubs on top 1-0 as we head to the second. As we take a look at the keys to the game, brought to you by your San Diego Honda dealer.
Well, get them on and get them in. Too many runners left on base last night for San Diego. 9 all told, no freebies, walks or outs. No walks for Jhoulys Chacin and these Cubs, and do not give the Cubs free outs to extend the inning.
No word on Yangervis Solarte and why he's out of the lineup, but we'll get you on as soon as we find out. Chase Darno is in the lineup, and he will take a pitch low and away for ball 1. Darno, Renfroe, and Spangenberg scheduled to bat in the inning. The reason I think he was on deck last inning is this one is grounded to third. Brian will go across to first. Is that if the change was going to be made, then most likely I think he would be batting in a different spot maybe than the cleanup spot. So it leads you to believe that something else happened. We'll see. Defensively for the Cubs, Wilson Contreras in lefty and Happ in center. John Jay in right. Chris Bryant at third. Addison Russell at short with Javier Baez at second. Anthony Rizzo at first and Miguel Montero doing the catching. And he is behind the plate for Mike Montgomery, the left-hander who deals with a pitch outside to Hunter Renfroe.
You know, so many things kind of bugged me about last night's game, but the runners left on 11 runners left on base for San Diego. Many opportunities to break it open, just couldn't come up with that big hit.
Lots of chances last night. Timely hit eluded them. This one fouled off to the right, up to the upper deck, and it's 1-2. Center fielder Ian Happ over towards right center. Renfroe, those 15 home runs so far in the year, and not done with June yet. On the ground left side, deep short for Addison Russell. Long throw, and he'll get it there in time. Let's get an update on Yangervis Solarte from Bob Scanlon. Bob?
As Yangervis left the ball game with a left oblique strain. We don't know the severity of it at this point. We'll try to find out more information as we can. Also, not sure yet whether he was actually officially on the lineup card that was handed over to the umpires, in which case he would not be eligible for the game, or whether he was a late scratch. Rather irrelevant probably at this point, because he's probably not going to be able to play in this game, but we'll try to find out that for you too. Hopefully nothing serious, guys.
All right, thanks very much, Ken. As with 2 outs here in the second inning, it brings up Corey Spangenberg. 268, 4 homers, and 12 runs batted in. And strike over the outside corner. And 4 ground ball outs so far, the 5 outs that Mike Montgomery has in this game.
You know, I'm wondering with the left-handed hitters there, with that sun poking through, you can see the long shadows. I'm wondering, peripherally, if that's going to mess up your at-bat.
Spangenberg has a tough time there in the breaking ball. Second strikeout for Montgomery. 1-0 Chicago. Ready for the bottom of the second inning and get ready for the All-Star game on July the 11th in Miami on Fox. As we take a look at the leaders right now in the balloting in the American League. We checked out the National League yesterday. Of course, every Monday there'll be an update as to who is leading back and forth. A couple guys going back and forth right now, but it is pretty well spread out across the American League as Hosmer and Perez leading the way, and you got the Astros certainly well represented so far. They're having a terrific year, so no surprise there at all. They are 47-24 and have a 12-game lead in the American League West already.
You look at that lineup, and there's not a lot of holes in that lineup. No. If that is the lineup you're going to try to pitch to.
Well, Addison Russell will ground one softly to short. Cordoba on the run and in time. It's 4 in a row now, retired by Jhoulys Chacín after allowing that leadoff home run at the bottom of the first inning to Anthony Rizzo.
Now, in the pitches that he has thrown since the home run, good movement on the slider, the two-seamer. You know, that two-seamer he threw to Ian Happ. And that was like a wiffle ball to end the first inning. Strikeout looking.
4 in a row. Retired by Chacin. Brings up Miguel Montero. I see what you're saying about that sunlight, especially with left-handed hitters.
Yeah.
It's kind of creeping through and right in their face. It's going to be tough.
I think, yeah, peripherally, you know, you're concentrating on the pitcher, but still you got that sun coming right through. The high beams working.
Corey Spangenberg looked like he had a real hard time.
Oh, that's right out of the natural right there. Somewhere Glenn Close is going to stand up. Root on Roy Hobbs.
Right between the lower bowl and the upper deck here in Chicago at Wrigley Field. That'll miss away, and it's a 1-out walk for Miguel Montero. Let's check in the scan.
Don and Bud, you guys were just talking about that sun setting down over the third base line, and I actually remember pitching in this ballpark sometimes in afternoons, and at certain times of the year that sun would actually be directly in your eyes as a right-hand pitcher when you're coming set, so hopefully it doesn't become an issue today for Jhoulys Chacin nor Will Myers as it continues to set in terms of trying to catch throws over at first base. But as far as Jhoulys goes today, we talk about his two-seamer, we talk about his slider a lot, but don't forget that he has a curveball in the arsenal as well, and this could be a team that he can bust it out against. We'll see if it becomes a weapon for him as this game goes on.
Well, Scan, thanks very much. Yeah, right now, Chacin very much in the sunlight. Javier Baez, 249, 10 homers, 28 runs batted in, and getting started second base.
You know, the Brewers were a team that has difficulty hitting the good curveball as well.
Good cut there from Baez. No contact. Leadoff home run by Anthony Rizzo in the bottom of the first inning. Chacin retired 4 in a row before allowing his first base on balls to Miguel Montero. Now Baez swings the 1-1, grounded back to Chacin to second for 1, on to first for 2. Double play, nicely done. Ends the second inning. We head for the third. 1-0 Chicago. Padres were Cubs a year ago and got their World Championship rings today. Clayton Richard and Trevor Cahill both getting their rings today. And this is a look at the rings that they both received today from the World Champion Chicago Cubs. And this was Trevor Cahill's ring.
That's a beautiful piece of jewelry, isn't it?
Yes, it is indeed. With the W on the side there. It's a good looking ring.
Yeah, on the inside of the ring, down by the bottom part, there's a head of a goat.
The curse.
The curse
has been lifted.
That's right.
Clayton Richard working out of the bullpen last year for the Cubs. In fact, when the Padres were here last year, Played a day-night doubleheader. He pitched in that day-night doubleheader for the Cubs. For being released later on in the season and rejoining the Padres. Coming back to San Diego. Now in Cordoba. Leads it off here in the 3rd inning. Bottom 3rd of the San Diego order.
You know, a lot of people ask me regarding World Series rings. Hey, if you put on a uniform that year and you win a World Series, you get a ring.
Yep. One appearance.
That's the way it works.
Yep. Cordoba, Torrens, and Chacin to bat here in the 3rd inning.
108 diamonds on that ring.
It's enough.
Symbolizing the drought.
Number of years in between. I think there are many people anticipating them to perhaps be the beginning of a dynasty of sorts based on what happened last year. So far this year has been much different, just a game over 500. As Cordoba goes lunging. Again, there's a long way to go, but disappointing so far for Chicago, no doubt, this year.
And Don, you know as well as anybody, you stay in the hunt, right? It gets down to playoff time, you win the division, maybe get in the wild card, and anything can change in a playoff situation.
Sure. Just got to get to the dance.
A short series. We mentioned, you know, Brett Anderson has a pitch. He's on the DL. Kyle Hendricks, Ben Zobrist, all on the 10-day. So they're still fighting. Game and a half prior to today's game.
One down here in the 3rd, 7 in a row retired by Montgomery, and here is Luis Torrens. The Padres turning a double play last inning. It's amazing. 10 innings in the field in this series so far for the Padres. They've turned 5 double plays. 4 of them, of course, last night. 1 so far here tonight. And Torrens came into the game. A lot of that, of course, Clayton Richard, but he is hitting here for Austin Hedges.
See Clayton Richard going straight Fernando Rodney in the dugout. Look at
he's got the sun in his eyes. That's a big reason.
Yeah.
Grounded foul. Torrens took over for Hedges in last night's game and starts for him tonight. Does not appear the injury is going to be bad enough for Austin to go on the DL, which is certainly a good thing, number 1. Number 2, there is no concussion, which is very big too. It's the thigh bruise. Chopped down the first baseline, will stay foul.
I'm going to say in one sentence and just call it quits. All right? Timing is everything.
That's it? That's what you got?
That's all I got. And you do the math.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you got 2 games left here, tonight and tomorrow.
What are you referring to?
I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying. And then I'm not going to say any more.
Yeah.
How's that?
Okay. Fair.
All right.
Duly noted.
2-2. Who's fouled off back towards the screen.
I want my oatmeal now. I want my coffee now.
Relax.
So what you're saying is be patient.
Yes. This is a marathon. It is not a sprint.
So what you're saying is timing is everything.
Exactly. Fouled off. Still 2-2.
Well, what a thrill for Montgomery, how last year had the ball in his hand to get that little chopper down the third base line to sew up the World Series that grounded to Chris Bryant. Brought out of the bullpen. Quite a thrill for that left-hander.
Off to a tremendous start of tonight's game, retiring the first 7 Padres in a row.
And how about your first career save being saving Game 7 of the World Series?
That's pretty cool.
Yes, it is. Well, hopefully the Padres can spoil the good season so far for Montgomery.
Good start of the year for him in his 21st appearance. 5 fouls so far in this at bat for Torrens. He's battling. And a ground ball, base hit back up the middle into center field. And Torrens got himself the first hit of the night for the Padres. Good battle right there.
He gets on top of this one. Looks like a four-seam fastball. We're going to put some serious topspin on that. Off the mound into center field for the ground ball to Ian Happ. And there goes the no-hitter. Good-looking swing from Luis.
Base runner here with one down for the first time tonight. And Jhoulys Chacín standing in. They're anticipating a bunt, so in at first, in at third. He's not bunting. He is grounding one into center field for a base hit. Torrens will turn at second, but retrace his steps and get back to the bag. And Chacín, no intention of bunting there. He's a good hitter. Already had 7 hits before his 8th right there into center field.
Secondary lead. I tell you what, that shows confidence in Jhoulys Chacín. Andy Green's thinking, you know what? With the way they're positioning, why not try early on to put a swing on, hit a hole? Because Chacín has proven this year that he can swing the bat and make contact. That's just another advantage to have a pitcher who can do that.
So 2 on, 1 away. Padres trying to get something done here in the third, and Perella will chop one to third. Bryant goes to second for 1, on to first for 2. And just as quickly as they got the 2 on, a double play for the Cubs, who lead it 1-0. Take a look at the American League Central, and the Cleveland Indians all of a sudden are back to being the Cleveland Indians, as you guys mentioned. 37-31 on that 6-game stretch, and they have a 2.5-game lead over the Minnesota Twins, who really have been a surprise this year and have been atop the Central for the majority of the first couple of months of the season. And the Royals all of a sudden back in the conversation. They're 3.5 games out.
Cleveland is outscoring opponents 52-13 during the season best 6-game win streak. You think the pitchers are having big smiles on their faces during that offense?
Oh, yeah. Edwin Encarnacion, too. A pretty good addition for him.
342 average as a club. 14 home runs to go along with that offense during that streak. Hey now.
Mike Montgomery, the pitcher batting out of the 8th spot, as Joe Madden doing that again tonight. Did it last night, had John Lester batting 8th in the Cubs order. Tardy on the cut on the 93-mile-an-hour fastball that evens a count of 2-2. So you have Montgomery, then former Padre John Jay. The former Padre, Anthony Rizzo, coming up back-to-back. There's John Jay. He's having a terrific first year here with the Cubs, hitting at .322.
Nice to chat with John before the game. Came over and said hello to some of his Padre peeps.
To second and Chase Darno. Well, the first out here at the bottom of the third inning. Darno into the game for the Padres. Out is Yangervis Solarte with the left oblique strain. You're just joining us tonight, so we'll keep an eye on that. But listed as day-to-day. One out in the third, and John Jay coming up. Not sure when Yangervis would have done that. Perhaps during BP. They did have BP today. Did not yesterday. And that's pretty tough for you as it's coming through. Now home plate in the shadows at the moment. Jay will take strike one. We've seen a pretty good groove here tonight. After that leadoff home run, he has settled in. Goes around and strikes out. That is the third strikeout for Joey Chacin. Two down here in the third inning. Here comes Anthony Rizzo for his second plate appearance of the night. He homered in the first. Connected on his 17th home run of the season. To lead it off in the bottom of the first inning.
Yes, I've seen this big time with that two-seam fastball. It was down and in. He wanted it down and away. Dropping the head. Going El Centro on him.
Now he digs in here. Padres going to a shift on the right side. Rizzo in his second plate appearance of the night. And he'll take strike one.
96. A little extra on that one. Through the outfield, playing him to go the other way with the shift. In center field, Cordero on the shortstop side of second base.
Fouled into the Padres dugout. Get in there hard. Like everybody's all right down there at the end of the dugout. Out and a strikeout for the first two outs here of the third inning. So far, Rizzo, the only Cub to hit a ball to the outfield in this game. Off Chacin. And he will line one in the air to short. Well, apparently it hopped. No, apparently caught it. Wasn't sure. Cordova took a look. He made the grab in the air. And that will end the inning. Top of the fourth we go, and tonight's Cold Hard Facts are brought to you by Clean Crisp. Coors Light. I think the Padres do very well is hit home runs, and most home runs in the last 10 days. The Padres have 20. Over the Indians and the Yankees. Only the Mets and Dodgers have hit more in the last 10 days.
Well, thank Bellinger for the Dodgers for part of that 24, and for the Padres in that span of 10 games, 5-5 record. Aaron Judge of the Yankees.
And Frenchie Cordero going to lead it off here in the top of the fourth. 2, 3, and 4 featured in the inning for San Diego. Cordero showing bunt, pulling it back and taking a ball. Cordero struck out looking in the first inning. Well, the June's been pretty good. 283. 3 homers, 9 runs batted in for Padres center fielder. This one on the ground sharply, but right at Baez for the first out here of the fourth inning.
You've been around this game of baseball a long time, Henry Donald.
27th professional season. 17th.
So you've pretty much seen it all, but that's what's great about baseball. You come to the ballpark, you never know what you're going to see, but it's just, you know, it's a hit like that. It's right at the second, but he hit it hard. That ball was scalded. That's what makes it so hard this game to succeed and hit. These guys that hit perennial 300 hitters every year. Oh, really?
And to me, that's why, you know, a lot of times when you see guys not pitch to contact in some instances, I mean, it's amazing how many times balls will find guys in the infield or the outfield as a pitcher.
Right.
Throw strikes.
Is that what you're supposed to do?
That's what you're supposed to do.
All right. I wish I would have known that 35 years ago.
You know, and if you did more of it.
Well, if a strike was down and away, I'd be in the Hall of Fame.
That's where you were most of the time?
Yeah. It was either there or the heart of the plate. I could find the heart of the plate with the best of them.
Center cut.
Oh.
7 ground ball out so far for Montgomery. With a good sink going, and they got 1 double play turn behind him in the third inning. Well, Myers grounded out to third his first time. And is ahead now, 3-1.
They may have gotten a call there. Changes the whole complexion of the at-bat. Now a hitter's count. Will Montgomery try to change speeds a little bit on the fastball? Create a little movement. Off speed there, 83 change. Speaking of the rotation, we talked about Hendricks being on the DL. There's word out that he might not return until after the All-Star break for the Cubs.
First 3-ball count of the night for Mike Montgomery. Ready with his payoff pitch. And Myers will foul it off to the right and stay alive.
So he just went from 83 changeup to 94 fastball. That's tough to catch up to. And Will Myers fouls it out of play.
Down low, and that's ball 4, and Myers aboard with a walk here. First base on balls allowed by Mike Montgomery. Well, the day after the Padres score 5 or more runs, get 50% off any regular menu price online order at papajohns.com. Enter promo code Padres5. 1 out, 1 on, and it brings up Chase Darno. Grounded out to third base in the second inning, 0 for 1. Soft toss over, and back to the bag is Myers. Good size lead for Myers, almost to the cutout. Noticing was Montgomery going back over there again. high. Coming out of the crouch there was Montero to reel that in. This pitch will be the 45th of the outing for Montgomery. Serving into the rotation after Kyle Hendricks was placed on the DL on June the 8th. That's a strike.
It is?
According to home plate umpire John Tumpain, it is.
Okay. How come I didn't get that call?
On the ground right side, Baez ranging will go to second, and they got his foot on it apparently. As Russell coming across the bag did get the foot down, and Myers, the lead runner, retired. Forced out 4-6.
Well, any middle infielder can expect the good throw and catch the good throw. How about the one that's to your right or left? The extreme. Okay, now I got to stretch. Glove, foot on the bag. I'll tell you what, great concentration, great athleticism. That is not an easy throw to catch. On the move to second base.
So 2 down. Darno at first on the fielder's choice and brings up Hunter Renfroe. 0-for-1. Bounce to shortstop in the second inning.
That's like one of those in between the innings. Russell's going to say to Baez, dude, really? Are you trying?
Killing me with that.
No kidding.
Sharply through the left side into left field, a base hit for Hunter Renfroe. Darnell will take second base, and Renfroe is aboard with a base hit here, 3rd hit of the night for the Padres.
Hard line drives, hard home runs. We've seen those. How about the hard grounder through the 5.5 hole? Montgomery, he turned that one over at 83. Change up, gets extended. That's some kind of strong right there. Had a good sound too.
The Padres could use some timely hitting. They've not had it in this series. 0-for-12 with runners in scoring position. They got 2 on here, 2 down. Spangenberg taking ball 1. 348 in the month of June for Corey Spangenberg. 3 homers, 4 runs batted in, and the bulk of this month he has been the everyday third baseman for the Padres. And Ryan Schimpf being sent out to AAA El Paso, it's given him a chance to play every day now. Evans at 1-1. Spangenberg didn't think so.
Well, lefty on lefty. If you're going to be the everyday guy, you're going to have to hit against lefties, right? You're going to have to get used to it. Learn how to figure them out. Can't try to pull everything. Yeah, the mistake inside over the heart of the plate breaking ball. Yeah, you can pull that one. But it looks like Montgomery consistently going away.
Back to the mound, and Montgomery doesn't panic and throws low, but Rizzo able to dig it out. 1-0 Cubs after 3.5.
dad there meant everything to me.
Tonight on Inside San Diego Sports, we take a trip down memory lane with the Hoffman brothers, Tony Gwynn Jr. and Mark Sweeney, as they share their most memorable moments, all about their dads. Tonight after Padres Live right here on Fox Sports San Diego.
Last of the fourth inning back at Wrigley Field in Chicago, the middle game of the three-game series. Chris Bryant leading it off. A strikeout victim in the first inning. One of 3 strikeouts on the night for Jhoulys Chacín. He's 0 for his last 13, and 8 of those 13 have been by way of the K. Swinging a foul tip, and he's quickly down 0-2.
Well, he got him with the slider out of the zone late last time up. There's 2 fastballs right there. 93. He'll chase up. He'll chase down and away. Here comes a slider.
And it hits him. The breaking ball. Not what Chacín wanted to do there. Lead-off hit batsman. Well, defensively tonight behind Chacín. Padres defense brought to you by Lincoln. Left to right in the outfield. Jose Perella in left with Franchi Cordero in center. Hunter Renfroe in right. At first, it's Corey Spangenberg at third. Alan Cordova at short. Chase Darno at second. Will Myers at first base, and Luis Torrens doing the catching in his 14th start of the season as the catcher, with Austin Hedges on the bench tonight after the collision last night with Anthony Rizzo.
Well, it kind of hurts. 0-2, hits him with a slider, just didn't get it out there enough, and that hits him on the elbow. Tried to maybe overthrow it.
Retired 5 in a row prior to that hit batsman that has Bryant at first. And Wilson Contreras standing in on the right side. Contreras grounded out to Corey Spangenberg at third base in the first inning. Goes, pitch in the dirt, and Torrens can do nothing about it. Bryant going to steal second base, head first. Diving slide there, but Torrens kind of lost the handle on it on the transfer from the glove to the bare hand.
You know, the thing is, it really wasn't even a great jump by Chris Bryant. Looked like it was a breaking ball, so sometimes the pitch matters. And as you mentioned, Don, can't find the handle, you just eat it. Hold on to it. Don't want to rush it and throw it into center field.
The batter stolen base has Bryant at second base with nobody out. Cubs trying to add on to this 1-0 advantage. Hitters count here for Contreras. And a bluff spiraling off the backside is Chacín.
It's called the inside move,
as opposed to the outside move.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. Yeah. But you'd have to step off, right? Or spin that way. Spin glove hand side, or kick and fake and then go to second base. The inside move.
I just say spiral.
That's good too. It's got the right idea.
Just run that out all
Whatever
the time.
works for you. That's all that matters.
42 pitches so far for Chacín, second hitter of the fourth inning for Chicago. And Contreras will foul it off down the right field line to even the count at 2-2. Torrens headed out here to talk to Chacín. The run of this game, leadoff home run by Anthony Rizzo in the bottom of the first inning for the Cubs. Rizzo with his 17th home run of the year to start this bottom of the first inning, and he's scoring in this game right now. 2-2 pitch and a swing and a miss. Good pitch. Breaking ball gets him chasing, and that's strikeout number 4 for Chacín. First out of the fourth inning.
Oh, the slider's biting, getting out in front. Hey, home, road, it doesn't matter. You throw it there with that type of action, you're going to have success. And then it's a huge punch out for Chacin with that runner on second base.
Bryant at second, one down. Ian Happ, the batter. Struck out looking in the first inning. .227 with runners in scoring position, but he does have 3 home runs as he takes a pitch downstairs for ball 1. Happ had a 5-game hitting streak come to an end here last night. Here's a guy who was a first-round draft choice by the Cubs. 9th overall, 2015, out of the University of Cincinnati.
The Bearcats, pretty good athlete, and re-entry is kind of rough. We talk about Ian Happ. Remember, he first came up, first 8 games, he hit .357. 23 games since then, 171. Oh, word travels quickly. You know, they've got this thing nowadays where it's called video, where you can like send it immediately and you can like scout hitters and what they hit and what they don't like.
I just intentionally walked him 3-0 in the count and decided not to deal with him any longer.
So now you got righty on righty, Russell against Chacin, and a force at any base with 1 out.
Second walk allowed by Chacin, first of the intentional variety. Ryan at second, Happ at first, 1 out, and Addison Russell the batter. Swing and a miss for strike 1. We're back to the gas there at 93.
He's grounded into 3 twin killings this year, Addison Russell. If Chacin's got that 2-seam working and that slider, to take a swing like that, it'll be tough to elevate. He will get his ground ball.
Jumps ahead here 0-2. Some 4 strikeouts tonight and 3 1/3 for Chacin. His strikeout high is 8 on the year. And yet another slide piece.
Oh, I like it. You're going to the school of Eck, right?
Yeah.
That's an Eckersley term I learned a long time ago.
It is indeed. Former Cub in his own right.
Yes, he was.
Left side, deep in the hole, and by the glove of Cordoba. Bryant's coming around, throws coming plateward from Pirela. It'll be late, and the Cubs will take a 2-0 lead. RBI single for Addison Russell.
Frustrating for a pitcher because you're ahead, you make the pitch, you get your grounder. You see, off the plate, has to reach out there and pulls it just out of the reach. Now, if this ball is caught by Cordoba, probably saves the run. Gary Jones will probably hold up the runner there, but not the case. Good effort by the Padres shortstop. And not a bad pitch, just not the result that he wanted for Chacin. He got his ground ball.
2 on, 1 away, a run in. That is just the second Cubs hit of this game, and it drives in a run. And Miguel Montero's got some tough numbers with runners in scoring position. 77 the average. And a foul off to the left out of play. With that RBI single for Addison Russell. Now 8 RBIs in the last 8 games for Russell. Montero with 1 of 2 walks allowed by Chacin, 1 coming in this inning, and of the intentional variety to Ian Happ, who now is stationed at second base with 1 out. Grounded back to Chacin, chance for another double play, to second for 1, on to first for 2, and they turn their second, and again it is Chacin who starts it, but the Cubs get a run, lead 2-0. Fox Sports San Diego is brought to you by Lexus and by Jack in the Box. Buick. Back in Chicago, it is game 2 of a 3-game series between the Padres and the Cubs. As we play along here to the 5th, a run in the first for the Cubs, a run in the 4th, and a 2-0 advantage. It looks a lot like what I looked at today.
I saw Whitecaps out there today.
Yeah. A little on the cool side out there on the lake as we move along here to the 5th. Back on the hill for the Cubs is Mike Montgomery. 4 scoreless innings to start his outing tonight. Here he is in the 5th. On Cordoba.
Of course, Lake Michigan being one of the Great Lakes. Do you know how you memorize the Great Lakes?
Not a clue.
Homes. H-O-M-E-S. Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior.
Wow. Holmes.
What up, Holmes? Now you know your lakes.
He went after it. Could not hold up. 1 and 2.
Montgomery's got a good curveball, huh?
Yes, he does.
And then he sneaks that 93, 94 up on you.
It's tight.
Good rotation, good spin.
Cordoba towards the gap in left center field, but on the move is Happ. He'll get there. No gap. He cut the gap as he goes over and makes the grab on the run for the first out here of the 5th. Hung up long enough for Happ to get from right center to left center. 1 down.
As soon as that ball was struck down, I was thinking the same thing. Happ, I put my eyes on him, and quick steps to his right, and then he pulls the parachute, makes it look easy over towards the left center field gap.
There is no gap when Ian Happ is headed over there. One out here in the 5th. It sounded good before I said it, and then
I would go, no gap is too big for Happ.
For Happ, that's better.
I know it is.
Yeah. That fly ball is the first fly out against Montgomery. Everything's been on the ground.
Both guys utilizing that infield. Justine and Montgomery.
Another grounder up the middle. Montgomery couldn't get it. Baez can. 2 down.
The can't miss event of the summer hits South Beach when baseball's biggest stars take the field for the MLB All-Star Game. From Miami, July 11th, only on Fox. I remember as a kid, man, I could not wait to go home after Little League practice and turn on the tube and watch the All-Star Game.
It was a big event for me, too. Was a fly ball, shallow right field off the bat of Chassin. John Jay puts it away. It's a 1-2-3 5th halfway through. 2-0 Cubs.
Padres nothing. Vote today, vote tomorrow. Vote Padres for your 2017 All-Stars with the Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot. Vote at Padres.com/vote and catch all the excitement. The 88th MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard, July 11th, only on Fox.
So this is the bottom of the 5th inning or
the Foster Brooks inning. Bottom of the 5th. Get it?
Nope. What do you got?
You know what Foster Brooks is?
No.
Oh. Well, then you don't get it.
At all. We'll get you game break coming up. The Angels and Yankees. There's Javier Baez, Mike Montgomery, and John Jay. Featured here against Jhoulys Chacín.
Foster Brooks was the comedian who always was drunk at the D. Martin roasts.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Bottom of the 5th.
Javier Baez bounced into a 1-4-3 double play in the 2nd inning.
What happens when you get to the bottom of the 5th? Pretty well lit.
Baez with a huge cut. Almost ended up on his backside there in that swing.
Chacín has made big pitches when needed. You know, trails 2-0, but the double play, the ground ball has been the big factor this evening for the right-hander.
Been able to turn 2, and he started them both. Here's a drive down the left field line, headed towards foul ground. Yes, a foul ball.
Strike 2.
Right out of the stadium down that left field line. Baez grounding into one of those double plays. This was a 1-4-3 twin killing in the 2nd inning. Swing and a miss on that slider, and he uses it again to pick up a strikeout. His 5th of the game, 1 down.
You know what I've noticed about Chacín and his slider?
What's that?
He's not starting it on the corner and then it's going way off the plate. Don, out of the hand, it looks like a strike. And when you look at where it ends up, it's just off the plate. And hitters cannot connect to it. I think that's the adjustment tonight that Chacín has made on that particular pitch.
So 1 down here in the 5th, and it brings up Mike Montgomery, the pitcher for the Cubs. And he'll chop one down the first baseline on 2 hops to Myers for out number 2.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the San Diego Padres and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the San Diego Padres.
So 2 down here in the 5th inning, and it brings up John Jay. A strikeout victim in the 3rd. 5 Ks for Chacín in this game. Strike over the inside corner. Last 5 games, John Jay 8 for his last 12. And having a chance to play on a daily basis. And he gets hit with a pitch inside. 0-2, just trying to come in there. There's Chacín, and he hits John Jay on the 0-2 pitch. The second batter Chacín has hit.
Yeah, 2nd time tonight, 0-2. Chris Bryant, and then on the right leg of John Jay.
Not sure John Jay did very much to get out of the way of that ball. In fact, it looked like he went into it.
Kind of spun, but didn't like move out of the way. Huh?
No. So 2 outs, and Jay at first, back up top for Anthony Rizzo. Rizzo tonight, home run in the 1st, lined out to short in the 3rd. That bounced in for ball 1. Well short of the plate. Talking about being hit by pitches. Rizzo with 12. Time to Josh Harrison of the Pittsburgh Pirates. As this gets away from Torrens, heading for second base aggressively is Jay. Ball in the dirt, takes off right away, and he's in scoring position now with 2 down. Pitch is bounced here by Chacin in this sequence.
Slider. Boy, he wanted to get that one down and in, not even close, way out in front of home plate. And as a catcher, you just take your chances of getting in a good position. Ball bounced off his chest.
Second intentional walk here as they're going to intentionally walk Rizzo. Bring up Chris Bryant. Up first base, so no reason to deal with Rizzo.
Yeah. By the way, my endodontist, Dr. Joe Cave, got the Foster Brooks joke. Just want to let you know. There are people out there that get it.
Just because I didn't get it doesn't mean that doesn't mean anything, really. 2 outs, 2 on, and it brings up Chris Bryant.
How about another strikeout right here?
Struggled with 2 outs and runners in scoring position.
He wanted to bite at that one. Held up though.
And struck out in the first inning, hit by a pitch, and scored a run in the 4th inning. All this coming with 2 outs. The hit batter, the intentional walk, 2 on, 2 down. And Bryant takes a look at strike 1.
Infielder's got to be diving on a ground ball to your right or left. Prevent it from going to the outfield, and the Cubs get another run. You can see the infield swung over on the pull side, as Don mentioned. Outfield slightly go the other way.
Picking up that strike after the last 3 straight pitches had been in the dirt for Chacin. And now it jumps ahead 1-2. Sinking fastball right there.
Chacin, he's dicing and slicing both sides of the plate. That's the 2-seamer down and in, the slider down and away to the righties. And the bad pitch up to this point was that leadoff home run to Anthony Rizzo. And that ball that found the hole off the bat of Addison Russell in the 4th, driving the 2nd run. There's a ground ball that just happened to find the hole. Wasn't even that bad of a pitch.
Popped up foul off to the right, out of play. So we'll do it again here, 2-2.
You know what's crazy about this game of baseball? You can throw the nastiest pitch, that'll get a base hit. You can hang a breaking ball, and they'll pop it out of play. This is an 83-mile-an-hour slider. Bryant working underneath it. Out in front just a little bit too much. Following out of play. That was a mistake.
Jay at second, Rizzo at first, 2 down here in the Cubs' 5th inning. It's just off the plate, full count now. He's coming in with a record individually at 6-5 with a 5.10 earned run average. 15th start. He's dealing right now with Chris Bryant. Wilson Contreras waits on deck here for the Cubs.
Well, the first at bat of Chris Bryant in the 1st inning, he struck him out a 3-2 slider. 3-2 right here. Does he go back to the well?
Pitch 70 of the night for Chacin. And it is up towards second base, and Darno throws to first for the out that ends the inning. Chacin out of the jam. The Cubs on top 2-0. is 2-0 here. The Cubs on top. Talking about Aaron Judge and home run leader in Major League Baseball. Jose Pirela standing in, 0 for 2 in the ball game.
Here comes the Judge.
24 of them. Bellinger 21. Logan Morrison of the Tampa Bay Rays.
I'll tell you what, I know it's early and there's still plenty of baseball left, but triple crown. Leading in batting, home runs. He's tied for the lead RBIs with 53 going into tonight's game. Leading in on-base percentage. His on-base percentage is .445.
How about 2 rookies leading in home runs?
Bellinger and Judge.
Yep.
Wow.
4 in a row retired by Montgomery as Pirela takes a pitch up and away. Third time through now for the Padres against Montgomery. Pirela, the top of the order. Grounded out twice. Once to second, once into a 5-4-3 double play.
Well, we just received word on the Hervis Solarte situation. Remember, you and I were wondering?
Yes.
On the card, game started, change made. Donnie, what do you got?
He was in the starting lineup and on deck. That is strike 3 to Pirela, and that is the 4th strikeout for Montgomery. So 1 down in the inning. So he was in the game and on deck, so he is not available. Out here in the 6th inning, and Trechi Cordero standing in. It's kind of been a frustrating night here for the Padres tonight in that they've got good pitching and not able to scratch across a run yet in this game. As the Padres trailing here 2-0, batting in the 6th inning, and Montgomery has pitched so well against the Padres in this game.
You know, the thing that I look at Montgomery, he's not overpowering. He's about 93-ish. But he's spinning that breaking ball up there nicely. And there was one at bat that was really evident. He threw a changeup to Will Myers at 83. Then he humped it up to 94.
The Padres playing well in this series, but nothing to show for it so far. Last night, a tough loss here for the Padres in Game 1, and here in Game 2, not able to do anything against Montgomery so far.
Can't leave 11 guys on base like they did last night.
And Hopper to second, Baez to the back end from the outfield grass, able to throw out Cordero.
He's good, isn't he?
Got a great arm too. And shortstop arm for sure. Montgomery having a good night with more on Mike Montgomery. Here's Bob Scanlon.
Well, thank you, Don. As you guys have mentioned, he's been on so far tonight. In fact, we talk about the importance of throwing 2 of the first 3 pitches for strikes. He's done that to every single batter he's faced tonight except for 2. The exception being Will Myers, who's at the plate right now in the 4th inning, and Pirela to start this inning. So other than that, he's been very solid. Before the game, there was some talk that he's had a little bit of difficulty finding a routine in between his starts. He's been in the bullpen, he's been a starter, so he's actually shadowing John Lester the last couple of outings, trying to see what he does in between starts. But as far as being on a pitch count tonight, not an issue for him. He threw 88 pitches in his last outing, and Madden said before this game, no pitch count issue. It's all going to depend on how well he throws. So far, he's been throwing pretty darn good, guys.
And that is pitch number 70 right there for him, Scan. So pretty good shape here with 2 down in the 6th inning.
And 11, count them, 11 ground ball outs for the left-hander Montgomery tonight.
Bouncing in, kind of clanking off Montero, kept it in front of him. And it evens at 2-2. Myers have been down 0-2. Good guy to shadow. You're going to shadow his starting pitcher in John Lester. Mike Montgomery trying to learn what to do. It's used to being a starter. A little slip there on that delivery. Now a full count.
Looked like a curveball that just let go too soon.
And ball 4. Myers walks for the second time tonight. So 2 walks allowed by Montgomery. Both times it's been Myers. Closed captioning is brought to you by Wiener Schnitzel. 2 outs, runner at first, and Chase Darno coming up 0 for 2 in the ball game. Got to third in the second. Reached on a fielder's choice in the fourth. There's a big lead and a ground ball that Rizzo is going to go to second base on the force out. That ends the inning. Maybe tougher play right there, but got it done. 2-0 Chicago.
You love double plays? I do. And if you're a pitcher and you start it, it's even better. How about the 1, 4, 3 double play 2 times tonight? Hey, if 1, 4, 3 wasn't good enough, how about 1, 6? Just to mix it up a little bit. 2 double plays started by the best athlete on the field by the name of Jolie Chassin. Very nice.
Last half of the 6th inning. 2-0. The Cubs have the lead as they come to bat. Featuring 3, 4, and 5. Contreras, Sapp, and Russell. And a grounder to third under the glove of Spangenberg into left field. And a wide turn at first base for Contreras, but he'll get back to the bag. Just under the glove of Spangenberg at third base. See how they rule this at third.
Well, I think Corey would be the first one to say I got to have that play. I think that's got to be an error. I think by his reaction, he's thinking he's got to make that play. He's got to come up with that.
So lead runner on here in Contreras, and here is Ian Happ. They're going to give him a base hit on that. So Contreras reaching on a hit. It's only the 3rd hit of the night for Chicago, and it's a leadoff hit for Contreras. Happ 0 for 1 with an intentional walk in this game, and a throw over as Contreras back to the bag. .72 pitches thrown by Jolis in this game. Looking here to his 2nd hitter at the bottom of the 6th inning. And a line drive foul. Padres shifting on the right side, but they keep it tight to the infield, the double play possibility. Back to the fastball there at 92. And unable to catch up was Ian Happ.
There's that double play combo we're talking about.
In the air, down the right field line, foul. That'll end up on the roof.
The roof. The roof. The roof is on fire.
Coming back down again. Look out below.
Oh, look at how happy they are. Oh, you can't beat fun at the old ballpark. I love you, honey. That's great.
In the dirt and blocked by Torrens. Leadoff single by Wilson Contreras. Set up the inning here for the Cubs in the bottom of the sixth, trying to add on to a 2-0 advantage. And Happ will strike out, throw down to first, and back to the bag safely is Contreras. So the strikeout for Chacin, his 6th. As Torrens trying to surprise Contreras down there at first base. Now it's time for the Unlimited Baseball break, brought to you by T-Mobile. Zach Greinke as we take a look around the NL West. 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run. Trails the Rockies 1-0 in the 4th inning. How good have the Diamondbacks been? They've won 10 of their last 11 games. Matt Moore for the Giants. 7 innings, 2 earned runs, but trailing the Braves 2-0 in the 8th. And Cody Bellinger facing the Mets. There's a ground ball right side into right center field. Contreras will stop at second base. Renfroe firing it towards third. Base hit for Russell. 2 on, 1 away for the Cubs in the 6th inning.
Well, sometimes luck isn't on your side because this two-seam fastball, sure, it's up a little bit, but he hits it on the ground hard, and defensively they're just not there. It finds the hole. It's been a couple times now that Addison Russell has found the hole. The RBI single in the 4th, and on the 6th here, single to the right side. Make sure you get your sign straight too with Luis Torrens going out there and talking with Chacin with that runner on second base. You don't want to get crossed up.
2 on, 1 away, and Miguel Montero the batter. In the air, down the left field line, moving towards foul ground and into the seats. Single by Contreras to begin the inning. The strikeout by Happ, a single by Russell. Now Montero, that's going to get off the glove of Cordoba. Stopping at third is Contreras, and the Cubs will have him loaded.
That ball was smoked. Montero taking that ball the opposite way. And you know what? This ball is slicing. Possibly saves a run because Cordero in center field, he had a bead on it. And he was going to get to that baseball. Gary Jones puts up the stop sign. The third base coach got a freeze at first base. Cubs got some action here.
Bases filled with Cubs with 1 down. Darren Balsley wrapping up his conversation. Javier Baez coming up here for the Cubs. 1 for 2, bounced into a double play, 1 to 4 to 3, and struck out swinging. .200 hitter with the bases loaded. Fielded double play depth. There is strike one. Chacin has already been able to induce not one but 2 double plays in this game.
Tough guy to double up. In 185 at bats prior to this game, he's only grounded into 3 double plays.
Wild swing and a miss. And the pitch headed away. Another slider from Chacin again. This one was on its way away and down.
That's exactly where you want to be. Out of the hand, looking like a strike, and then just off the plate for the swing and the miss. He's thrown more than a handful of those tonight. That's getting that release point out there just enough.
Bases loaded, 1 down, and the pitch here to Baez. Fouled off to the right. Trying to open up this game right now, already on top 2-0, but looking for more here in the 6th inning. On 2 strikes. Pitch count rising here for Chacin as well. With 1 down here in the 6th inning. This pitch will be his 85th of his outing. Bases filled with Cubs, and a ground ball softly in. Coming home is Myers. The out there is a force out. Did not need to tag him. And the bases are reloaded with now 2 down as Torrens went to apply the tag, didn't need to, and could have turned into a double play.
Well, let's check out his positioning. Torrens at home plate. When this ball is being thrown, is his foot on the plate?
No.
No, it's out front.
That's in the way.
Yeah.
So he's got to tag him that way. Wow.
Thank goodness Contreras' foot goes right into the glove. But as soon as that ball is struck, the catcher's getting out and acting like a first baseman with home plate. He's anchoring that foot on the plate, anticipating the throw. I'm just glad the foot went right into the glove. He didn't work around that glove.
And bases reloaded, 2 down, and it brings up the pitcher's spot, and it's Tommy La Stella who is going to pinch it here for the starter Montgomery, who is done. And La Stella will take strike 1. Stella came off the bench to pinch it in last night's game as well. 281 average, a home run, 2 runs batted in, and participating in his 20th game of the year. On the outside corner, 0-2. Montgomery goes 6 innings, gives up only 3 hits.
Oh, backdoor breaking ball, nicely done. He's going both sides of the plate.
On the ground, softly hit towards second base. D'Arnaud racing in. His throw is in time, and that will end the inning. So out of the bases loaded jam with 1 out is Chacin. Nice play, racing in for Chase D'Arnaud. Having to charge that ball, getting out of the inning. 2-0 Cubs. Presents Padres Baseball, brought to you by your San Diego County Lexus dealers, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. By Jack in the Box, come try the new sweet or spicy barbecue bacon cheeseburger and chicken sandwich, limited time only. And by Buick. Back in the beautiful city of Chicago, the middle game of a 3-game series between the Padres and the Cubs. And the Cubs with a 2-0 advantage here into the 7th inning. Carl Edwards Jr. coming into the game now for Chicago to replace Mike Montgomery, who went the first 6 innings.
Well, the Padre hitter is going to have to turn up the dial a little bit, because Carl Edwards Jr. can get it up there. His 31st game. Nice numbers. Trying to preserve the lead for Chicago, and those splits. Really? Lefty's only .067 and the righty's 174. 10 strikeouts, more than innings pitched.
And Hunter Renfroe going to lead it off here for the Padres in the 7th inning. 1-for-2 ball game for the Padres right fielder. It was short in the 2nd, single to left in the 4th inning. Padres have stranded 4 base runners in this game, as Montgomery did a very good job. That's off the end of the bat. It's got a lot of spin. Rizzo picks it on the backhand, covering is Edwards for the out. Nicely done. Renfroe retired 3-1 for the first out here at the top of the 7th inning.
Edwards doing a nice job at getting over there, and Rizzo got that baseball set up, didn't panic, waited for his pitcher to get right there and led him like a quarterback. Receiver going over the middle with the strike for the putout.
1 down here in the 7th inning brings up Corey Spangenberg, 0-for-2 in the ball game. Out swinging in the 2nd, grounded back to the mound in the 4th inning. Takes the strike at 95 from Edwards.
Well, if you're wondering what Edwards likes to go to, what's in his toolbox, he's got the 4-seam fastball and pretty much a curveball. Very rarely a changeup, and 95-96 on that fastball.
Strike 3 call. First strikeout for Edwards. That really froze Spangenberg. 96 miles an hour on that fastball. First strikeout for Edwards Jr. 2 down.
That is easy 96. This week's Padres POV presented by Nissan, only on Fox Sports San Diego. Don't miss it.
2 down here in the 7th brings up Alan Cordoba. A little bit low to Cordoba. He's got a slight in build, but boy, he can bring it.
Yes, he can. That's easy 96. All his mechanics in order. Good whip action, good arm speed.
Good rip right there by Cordoba, but it's by him.
Listed at 6'3", 170.
You're 6'3", but 275. Swing and a miss. Ish.
He's got a 32 waist. I've got a 42 waist. I've got 100 pounds on him.
Two pitch. Not a run away. Full count.
Well, as this game goes on, it's close 2-0. You have to consider the short bench for San Diego. Remember Solarte? He was on deck. He's out of the game, not available. Austin Hedges. Is he available for Andy Green?
Down to first base goes Cordoba. A 2-out base on balls. It's a third walk allowed by Cubs pitching in this game. Bring up Luis Torrens. 1 for 2 tonight. He's got one of the 3 Padres hits in this game. His base hit was back in the 3rd inning, a single to center. Good swing, but he fouls it back to the screen. Caesar, the former Cub, has come out on deck. Caesar got a start in center field last night for the Padres, and back on the bench, but coming off the bench to pinch hit here. The inning does continue. A little bit low. Foul to the screen, 1-2. And the Padres pen is busy. Jose Torres up and Ryan Buchter.
Talked to Brandon Maurer about that bullpen. He says it's really nice. They can see out of that whole window down there. You can't see in, but they've got a good view of the field. He's pitched well tonight. A bad pitch to Rizzo early, and a base hit that got through the left side for the RBI single off of Addison Russell's bat in the 4th inning.
He's up here 2-2 to Torrens. There's Caesar waiting on deck to pinch hit. Jhoulys Chacín. On the ground and through into right field, a base hit. As moving up to second base is Cordoba, and the Padres have something going here with 2 down in the 7th inning.
Well, Luis Torrens tonight being short and quick to the baseball. In the 3rd inning, right up the gut with a base hit. This looks like a cut fastball. Staying down on that, head down to the barrel of the bat, watching it, outer half, and spanking it. The one hopper through the infield. Good hitting right there.
Chris Bosio headed out there, the pitching coach, with 2 on and 2 outs. Anytime the Cubs hit a home run, their bullpen has a little dance. You know about this or not?
Yeah, this has become a thing because they got camera. They've got cameras down there, so they just getting jiggy with it on a Cub home run to show their joy. So this has become a big thing in the Cubs bullpen.
2 down, 2 on, and look at Chacín's numbers in this game. He'll be hit for here by Matt Caesar. 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 6 Ks, and at the moment on the hook. Caesar a 184 average between here in Chicago and in San Diego. Pitch in at 95 grabs his attention. They're not dancing right now. It's Pedro Strop who is warming up right now for the Cubs. Blocked by Montero.
Hey, mention that curveball by Edwards Jr. You hang one of those, Matt Caesar, elevate one. Never know. Got a battle here. Hitters count 2-0.
Good second. Torrens at first. Padres trailing by 2. Grabs the outside corner. Back to the gas again.
Edwards is going to have 3 home runs in 28 in 2/3 innings up to this point. He's got some cut to that fastball too. See that ball run a little bit, glove side.
A little too much for Edwards. Ball's behind here, 3-1 now. Good hitters count for Caesar. Took a pretty good rip at that fastball, but it's a full count now. Now the runners can get a start here with 2 down.
There's that fastball, a little bit of cut action to it, down and away. Very tough to square up.
They're standing in Wrigley with 2 on, 2 outs. Payoff pitch coming up. Struck him out. Edwards is able to get Caesar to finish off the top of the 7th. Bottom of the 1st inning, first batter Anthony Rizzo, home run to straightaway center, give the Cubs a 1-0 advantage. Addison Russell in the 4th inning would drive in Chris Bryant from second base, just out of the reach of Alan Cordova, short. Run scores, and the Cubs take a 2-0 lead. It's the difference in the game. As Jhoulys Chacín departs after 6 innings, 4 hits, gives up the 2 runs. Ended up walking 3, 2 intentionally. And struck out 6. He leaves on the hook as Ryan Buchter now comes into the game for San Diego.
Got to hold that deficit at 2, and Ryan Buchter is having one heck of a year. His 29th game. You know, relievers are going to have a little fluke outing once in a while. We talk about Brad Hand having one bad one every 30. Well, Ryan Buchter, he's got a couple in there, but still really good splits. Lefties 200, righties 203 from the left-hander.
So does John Jay, who he will first face, former teammates from a year ago. And this one fouled off to the left out of play. Jay tonight has struck out swinging and been hit by a pitch. It's Jay now, Rizzo, then Bryant, expected here in the bottom of the 7th. Rizzo on deck, homered in the 1st. The fastball back to back, both elevated, and Jay chases this time and finds himself down 1-2. First out of the pen tonight for the Padres after 6 strong innings from Chacín. Defensive swing there, gets a piece of the bat and almost hits Rizzo on deck.
That ball was not far from the hands on that bat of John Jay.
Right in on the thumbs. Victor has held opponents to a 194 average. Our throwing left-hander. Foul tip and gets a piece of Torrens, but staying alive is John Jay. In the air, down the left field line. Perella headed over towards the stands, but he won't have a play. So he'll come on back here. Wasn't entirely sure that was going to end up, so he was headed to first base. You ever have a mohawk in your career?
Never.
No. I know you had the mullet, but no
I had the
mohawk.
flat top with the mullet.
Yeah.
No mohawk.
No
though.
mohawk.
No.
No?
No. How about you?
No, I never could. I'd like to.
You'd like to?
Sure. I also would like a man bun.
I was just going to say, I'd rather have a man bun than a
Yeah,
mohawk.
but I can't do that either, unfortunately. Brief pitch of the bat coming up here to John Jay.
Fastball up here.
Fly ball left field. Perella moving over towards the stands again. Won't have a chance.
It's over the Ferris Bueller seats.
I just figured maybe when you get to the big leagues, maybe you'd have, like, I don't know, purple hair or something.
I never was into that.
I'm surprised.
You were surprised?
Yeah, I thought you'd be kind of wild.
Yeah.
High fouls in this at bat right here for John Jay battling.
Maybe immature, but not wild.
Jay tried to hold up, did he? Yes, he did, according to Jeff Nelson. And the at bat continues.
Oh, Ryan Booker pitches up in the zone. Does John Jay go here? No, I'll give him that one. I thought he checked. What do you think?
I thought he held up.
Yeah. See if he drops a breaking ball here, or stick with the fastball.
10th pitch of the at bat is fouled off to the left, so the battle continues.
Peek into Luis Trent's here. Fastball away.
And ball 4 down to first base goes Jay. What a battle that was.
Hey, tough pitch to lay off. But John Jay's got a good command of the strike zone. He'll take his walk.
Lead runner on here. Here is Anthony Rizzo, who is homered, lined out short, and been intentionally walked. Swinging the first pitch, fouls it off to the left out of play. In the shift are the Padres on the right side of the infield here on Rizzo. Rizzo trying to bunt, pops it up, and it's going to be Booker who makes the catch basket style on Rizzo for the first out here of the 7th inning. And that almost was a disaster. Torrens was going after it too, but Booker ends up making the catch for the first out.
Wow, if I'm I've got Anthony Rizzo up in the plate in this situation. I want him swinging away. Big out for San Diego, Ryan Buchter.
The shift on, was trying to bunt against the shift. One out here in the 7th. No advance for John Jay. Still at first, and here's Chris Bryant. Just outside the bag at 3rd and foul. That struck out in the 1st inning, hit by a pitch, stole a base, and scored a run in the 4th. And then grounded out to second base in the 5th. By Torrens, but away. Reigning National League MVP Chris Bryant batting here with 1 out. Runner at first, and Buchter will toss over. Back to the back is John Jay. Bryant hits it on the ground up the middle, and by the dive of Cordoba. Jay will stay at second base, and a base hit here for Bryant, his first hit of the night. And the Cubs have runners at first and second with 1 down here in the 7th inning.
Some of the Cub hitters finding the holes tonight on the ground. Right side, right side. Down by the label there. Just out of the reach of Cordoba.
So 2 on, 1 away, and Wilson Contreras coming up now for the Cubs. Grounded out to third base in the 1st, struck out swinging in the 4th, or singling in the 6th inning. As Buchter backs off here. Bouncing in, and Torrens blocks it nicely.
Slider in the dirt. That ball's going to check up back. See how it checks back up? Right below the cage. Does a great job keeping that ball in front of him. Got to bury that chin into the chest protector. You don't want that ball coming up underneath that cage.
On the ground towards third base. Spangenberg will go to second for 1, on to first for 2. Padres turn their 3rd double play of the night. So the Padres trail it 2-0. They'll be coming up in the 8th. Back here in Chicago at Wrigley Field, and it is on to inning number 8. Pedro Strop coming into the game here for the Cubs after Carl Edwards Jr. went an inning. Strop into his 31st game of the year.
Two-seamer, slider, and a four-seamer, mostly from Pedro. He's held opponents to a .222 average.
Jose Pirela, top of the Padres order, batting here in the 8th.
You know, walks can be an issue sometimes for Strop. Sometimes home plate will move around on the right-hander. The Padres most definitely need multiple base runners here in the 8th.
And they'll get one here. A ground ball that is a fair ball down the left field line. As Contreras will get it back in. It is a double for Jose Pirela to begin things here in the 8th inning.
Hung a breaking ball. I shouldn't say hung it, but it caught too much of the plate. He went down and got it. Kind of a flat breaking ball as well. No chance for Bryant. We got action.
So leadoff double for Pirela. Richie Cordero coming up here. 0 for 3 in the game. Pedro Strop holding opponents to a .222 batting average. Same spot, 0-2. And 7 from Strop. Very high. Cordero not chasing that. Fouled off. I think it's up here 1-2.
Now with the way that the swings we've seen from Franchi, why would a guy throw him a breaking ball, right? You might think that. Well, for a strike, no, you don't want to throw him a strike. You want to throw it out of the zone. You could speed up his bat on that breaking ball that catches too much of the plate. And he's been very, very late on the Strop fastball.
Swing and a miss on a pitch away. And striking out is Cordero. Strop. It's his first out here, the 8th inning.
Now that's the pitch I'm talking about, the breaking ball. But where is it? He wants it down and in. It leaks down and away. Same effect. 86. Gone. Curveball, slider, whatever you want to call it. It's a strikeout.
One out, runner at second base, and it brings up Will Myers. A couple of walks tonight for Will after grounding out in the first base. Walked in the 4th, walked in the 6th inning. That's Strop in his career 1 for 4. $41,607 on hand here tonight. 41,607 for game 2 of the 3-game series between the Padres and the Cubs. Cubs have won 2 in a row and won the first game of this series here last night. The conference at the mound as Montero heads out to talk to Strop. Baez coming in from second base as well to partake in the conversation. Ball 4, and Myers has walked for the 3rd time tonight. The Padres have been 0 for 15 in this series with runners in scoring position. Another chance here as Chase d'Arnaud stands in. d'Arnaud filling in for Solarte, who had the left oblique strain before the ball game, was in the game waiting on deck. It's a bat in the first inning, but then replaced by d'Arnaud in the bottom of the first inning. Chopped to third, but foul. Outside the bag as Chris Bryant ran over to make sure. Double start of this inning for Jose Pirela right down the line at third. Madero struck out. Myers walked, so first and second with one away. Runs on base right now for the Padres here in the 8th inning. In the dirt, nicely picked by Montero. Mike Montgomery, the starter tonight for the Cubs, 6 innings, allowing no runs. 3 hits, walked 2, and struck out 4. Swing and a miss. Bat goes flying down the third baseline as d'Arnaud strikes out. Second strikeout for Stroke. 2 down. Up down there on the warning track. 2 outs here in the 8th inning. And Hunter Renfroe coming up. See this bat just take off out of the hands of d'Arnaud. Security taking it away. Actually, one of the ball attendants taking it away. Looked at his youngster and then got it back.
That might get him a baseball or something, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
2 on, 2 down. Hunter Renfroe. 1 for 3. And cued off the end of the bat. Picked up by Strope, who will run to the bag and beat him just to the bag. I don't know why he didn't flip it to first. Rizzo was there, but he gets it done in the end. Padres strand a pair. 2-0 Chicago. presents Padres Baseball, brought to you by Evans Tire and Service Centers, home of the Buy Two, Get Two. By Petco, where the pets go. And by GMC. Concourse here outside as the fans in the ballpark tonight. 41,000 of it, 607 at Wrigley Field. Jose Torres coming in now for the Padres, who move along to the bottom of the 8th inning. And the Cubs on top 2-0. Torres into his 32nd game of the year.
Well, the bullpen after Chacin has done a nice job holding the 2 runs. Got to keep it right there.
And Happ leading it off here for the Cubs in the bottom of the 8th. Struck out looking in the first, was walked intentionally in the 4th inning, and then struck out swinging in the 6th inning. A plate appearance for the Cubs center fielder. In the air to deep left field. Perella going back at the wall. That ball is gone. Deep into the bleachers in left field for Ian Happ. His 9th home run of the year gives the Cubs a 3-0 lead.
Oh, breaking ball right into the wheelhouse. You talk about speeding up a guy's bat. Right into the swing path. And from the right side, the switch hitter doing some damage on that breaking ball.
So the Padres unable to score in the 7th and 8th innings, in which they leave 2 men on in the 7th, 2 men on in the 8th. And a home run leads off this bottom of the 8th inning to give Chicago a 3-0 advantage. Addison Russell will sky one foul off to the right out of play. Two hits in the game for Russell. Foul outside of third. Also grounded out of the 2nd, since then a couple of singles and an RBI. That single in the 4th drove in the Cubs' 2nd run of the night, and then single to right field in the 6th inning. Swing and a miss, and Russell strikes out. That's the first out here at the bottom of the 8th inning. Time now for the Bill Howe play of the game. And you may remember last inning, the youngster down the 3rd base line who got a baseball bat, had it taken away. Fans were not happy at Wrigley Field, but he ends up getting a baseball out of it in the end.
Oh, that's awesome. Going home happy. How about that? Front row seats too at full ball yard. Future big leaguer right there.
So 1 out, bases empty, and it brings up Miguel Montero. The Cubs catcher, been aboard twice in this game, a walk and a single.
Including the homers tonight, Donald. Cubs leadoff men have reached in 5 of 8 innings tonight. Getting on base early. Very, very key. And under my little statistic that I've come up with, that home run right there, blown deficit. Got to keep it at 2, right?
Darno at 2nd base, fields and throws, and plenty of time to get Montero. And there are 2 outs here in the 8th inning.
So the run here making it 3-0. Blown deficit. When a reliever comes into a ball game and your team trails by like 1 or 2 runs.
2 outs and Javier Baez. On a night where Jolie Chacin pitched very well. 6 innings, allowing only 2 runs, 4 hits, walked 3. and struck out 6. But he's on the hook for this one. Came in individually at 6 and 5 and will fall to 6 and 6 as the Padres were able to come back in the 9th inning. In the 9th, Spangenberg, Cordoba, and Torrens are scheduled to bat. 6, 7, and 8 for San Diego, and right now the deficit is 3 runs. Baez down to the count, 0-2. Line to center field, and that's going to get in for a hit, and gets by and through Cordero. All the way to the track and the wall. Baez can run. He's headed for 3, and he'll stop at third base. Franchy Cordero had that ball land just in front of him, short hop him, and then get by him all the way back to the 400 marker and the ID.
This ball was hit pretty darn hard. Give you a pretty good look here. Here's Cordero. Okay, he's charging, then he stops, and that ball just skips right underneath his glove. It's got to be a single and an error, I would think. Yep, didn't keep it in front of him.
Single and a 2-base error. And here comes Andy Green towards the mound. Looks like that's going to be it for Jose Torres, who will leave responsible for Baez at third. And that'll do it for Torres. 3-0 Chicago, the pitching change from Wrigley Field. Between the Padres and the Cubs, final game of the road trip for San Diego. Miguel Diaz will be matched up against Eddie Butler, and we'll get you started tomorrow 11 a.m. on the West Coast on Fox Sports San Diego. The pitcher on now for the Padres, 4th of the night. Jose Torres out, Jose Valdez in.
Well, if they're going to get any chance in their last chance, they're going to have to stop it right here with that runner on third base. He inherits one runner. And the splits here, owning the lefties. This is both with the Angels and the Padres. 0.91 average. The strikeout is most certainly there in the short sample size.
Last night's center fielder Mora Jr. is coming off the bench here to pinch hit with a runner at third, 2 down. This is the pitcher spot in the Cubs order. As Joe Madden had the starter in this game, Mike Montgomery got out of the 8th spot, just like he did John Lester last night. Popped up foul and out of play off to the right. Started with Ian Happ's long home run to left, adding on to the Cubs lead, leading 3-0. On at third now, 2 down. And dancing well down the line is Baez at third base. Himself a very big lead down there. Almost looked like he was coming towards the plate.
Trying to distract him?
Yeah, no doubt. To right center field. This will get down and get through to the track of the wall. Baez scores with the 4th Cubs run. Almora Jr. will be out at third base. So he'll get credit for a double. The Cubs will get their 4th run. And we'll see if there's going to be a challenge here by the Cubs. And the tag was maybe on the leg.
Yeah. I think he got him with the webbing of the glove. Well, you know, Corey went back, though. Did you see that?
Yes, he did.
He went back.
Like he didn't get him.
That's right, for a second ever. The umpire right there signals out.
Cubs are going to challenge. They are going to challenge. Nelson, the third base umpire and crew chief, making the call. We'll look from this side now. So you're right, though. Spansberg clearly didn't think he got it because he kept going after him.
Yeah, let's see if the webbing of the glove maybe changes. You see movement on the webbing of the glove? I really didn't on that one.
Not a lot.
And then Corey going back, as we mentioned. Wow, that's close. You see shadow of the glove, but is there contact? Wow. You know, this might be one of those where they say, you know what, you can't tell, he's still out, right?
Right, yeah, because call on the field is out.
That's right.
Another run in for the Cubs, who now lead it 4-0. Ready, and he's still out, so not overturned. Call stands. 4-0 Cubs. Starter for the Cubs, Mike Montgomery, who goes 6 shutout innings and strikes out 4 along the way. He pitched very well in this game.
He had the fastball location. He threw some good changes, but what I really liked was the breaking ball. The breaking ball, 4 strikes, and also he would throw a changeup, and then that 93, 94 mile an hour fastball, tough to get on top of. Got him deep into the game. He went a solid 6. Good outing. Taking over for a couple injured players, pitchers in particular for the Cubs in the rotation. Taking the place of Kyle Hendricks, Mike Montgomery. So Justin Grimm will now come in and try to shut this one down.
22nd appearance for Grimm. Corey Spangenberg leading it off here in the ninth. And he'll take strike over the outside corner. Spangenberg in this game 0 for 3. He struck out twice and grounded out. Surrounded the plate but misses away. Spangenberg, Cordoba. And Torrens scheduled to bat here in the top of the ninth inning. Padres trailing by 4. Slap foul off to the left out of play, and it's 1-2. Pedro Strop worked the 8th inning, going in and giving up a hit. Look at the new outfield alignment. John Jay moving from right to left, Happ from center to right, and Moore Jr. staying in the game in center. So a new outfield. As a check swing, did he go? They checked. No, he did not.
And that being a safe situation, Joe Madden hoping to give Justin Grimm an inning so he doesn't have to use his closer, Davis.
Rounded by the mound towards Baez at second, and the throw. Wow. Yeah. He's got some kind of arm.
He sure does, and he fielded that one out of short hop. And you knew it was going to be close because he knows that Spangenberg can get down the line, so he just notches it up a gear and bam! Watch him get to this ball, and then the flip throw. Got some serious fuzz on it, gets him by a half step. Plays it off to the side, the transfer. Makes it look easy.
One down here in the ninth inning. Alan Cordoba the batter. Cordoba struck out swinging in the third, flat out to center in the fifth, and walked in the seventh. Contreras now doing the catching as he moved from left field to behind the dish. 1-2. At 96 miles an hour. So Montgomery starts 6 shutout innings. So Carl Edwards Jr. a shutout inning. Pedro Strop a shutout inning. And now Justin Grimm. Trying to finish it off. Padres with other ideas, but 1 out in the ninth. Cordoba now. Torrens next. Evens up at 2-2. Full count now. Center fielder Almora Jr. over towards right center. Gap out in left center field right now. Fly ball right field. Happ is in right now, and the back pedal makes the grab shy of the track. 2 down in the ninth. Padres down to their last out. And Luis Torrens making his way to the home plate area. He's the only member of the Padres to have 2 hits in this game. He singled in the third, singled in the seventh, Wrapped around a ground out to second base, so a 2-for-3 night. Strike one, high fastball at 96. Same pitch, different result, 1-1. Cubs trying to shut out the Padres and take the first two of this 3-game series. First, the Padres were able to sweep the Cubs at Petco Park in a visit to San Diego this year. Strike two. And 41,607 stand as one at Wrigley Field in Chicago. In the dirt. Did he go? No. We'll check with Corey Blazer, first base umpire. That landed well in front of the plate. Two down, 9th inning. Count of 2-2 to Luis Torrens. Torrens strikes out, and the Cubs win the first 2 games of this 3-game series from Chicago as the Cubs shut out the Padres tonight. The final 4-0. What's on top, Mike Pomerantz?